Hey everyone, and welcome to our deep dive exploring some surprising facts about Japan. We're taking a look at an article called 22 Facts About Japan You Didn't Know. It was published just recently on September 28th on the travel blog Explore, Learn More. And let me tell you, it's packed with fascinating insights that challenge those common perceptions we often have about Japan.
It really is amazing how much there is to discover about a place, even one that we think we already know pretty well. Japan is full of these intriguing details and unexpected cultural quirks.
I am so ready to dive into those quirks with you. Right off the bat, this first fact already caught my attention. It says Japan is incredibly clean. And we're not just talking about like a little tidy. This is spotless streets, even in megacities like Tokyo, a city with millions of people. How on earth did they manage that?
Well, imagine for a second a society where littering is practically non-existent. That's Japan. It's not just about having strict rules or anything. It goes much deeper than that. I think it's more about this deep-rooted sense of collective responsibility for keeping those public spaces clean, almost like an unspoken agreement to respect shared spaces.
That's such a cool concept. It really makes you think about how we approach cleanliness in our own communities. All right, let's move on to the topic of megacity life, because
Yeah.
we all know Tokyo is massive, but this article just drops this mind-blowing stat. The greater Tokyo area is home to over 38 million people, making it the most populous megacity in the entire world.
Wow, over 38 million. That's like more people than a lot of countries have.
Yeah.
To really wrap your head around that number, you've got to picture places like Shibuya Crossing. It's known as the world's busiest intersection, and it's just insane. Thousands of people navigate through this space all at once in this synchronized flow, almost like a perfectly choreographed dance. Honestly, it's a testament to how well planned Japanese cities are and the efficiency of public transportation.
It's truly mind-boggling to imagine how they make it work.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even imagine trying to navigate a city that crowded.
I know, it's crazy.
It really makes you wonder about the downsides of living in such a densely packed place.
Well, for one thing, personal space in a city like Tokyo is definitely at a premium. And then there are the logistical challenges like housing, transportation, waste management, just to name a few. Everything has to be streamlined and super efficient. It kind of forces innovation in ways that we might not even consider.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, shifting gears to something a little more, well, delicious, Japan is renowned for its incredible seafood, and the article highlights the legendary Tsukiji fish market in Tokyo. This market handles over 2,000 tons of seafood every single day.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
That is a lot of fish.
It's just mind-blowing.
It really is. And while the inner wholesale market moved to Toyosu back in 2018, the outer market is still buzzing with activity. You walk in and you're instantly hit with this wave of sights and smells, mountains of fresh fish. Energetic vendors calling out their prices, and just the sheer energy of it all is incredible.
It sounds like sensory overload in the best way possible. This seems to highlight this recurring theme we see in Japan, the balance between embracing modernity while still holding on to tradition. And that actually brings us to a fact that I found quite surprising. Japan's population is 98.5% Japanese. That's a level of cultural homogeneity that you just don't see very often these days.
It is quite different from the multicultural societies we're used to seeing in many other parts of the world. There are a couple of factors that contribute to this, like the strict visa requirements and a genuine desire to maintain their unique traditions. It makes you think about the pros and cons of such cultural homogeneity. How does it shape their sense of national identity, their interactions with the rest of the world? It's a fascinating thing to consider.
Absolutely. And now for another fascinating tidbit. Let's talk about food again, but with a quirky twist. According to the article, Japan has restaurants that specialize in, wait for it, canned food. Apparently, there's this popular chain called Mr. Kanso, where the menu boasts shelves stacked with all sorts of canned delicacies.
Canned food restaurant.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
You know what, though, when you think about it, it actually kind of makes sense in the context of Japanese culture. It's almost like there's this charm to it, this sense of unexpected discovery. It really speaks to their love for novelty and convenience and their playful approach to dining experiences. It reminds me of their fascination with vending machines. You can literally get anything from a vending machine in Japan.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You can buy practically
Yeah.
anything from a vending machine over there.
Good call,
About convenience.
Yeah.
Now, prepare to be even more surprised. Did you know that Japan has one of the highest life expectancies in the world? The article mentions they're tied with Hong Kong at over 83 years.
Wow.
83 years.
That's incredible. It makes you wonder what their secret is.
Well, a number of things contribute to that longevity, I think. First of all, their traditional diet is packed with fish and vegetables, and they really emphasize portion control. And then there's also the cultural aspect, the deep respect for elders.
I've heard amazing things about those onsens, those natural hot springs that are so popular in Japan. They sound incredibly relaxing.
Oh, they are. It's more than just relaxation, though. It's a cultural experience,
Yeah.
almost like a ritual deeply ingrained in their spiritual beliefs, particularly in Shintoism and Buddhism, a true example of their holistic approach to well-being.
Fascinating. Now let's shift gears for a moment to something a bit more intense. Japan might seem like a serene and peaceful place, but it's also a land of incredible geological activity. The article points out that Japan has a staggering 110 active volcanoes. Can you believe that?
With him.
That's right, and 47 of those are closely monitored because of either recent or potential eruptions.
Wow, that's a lot of active volcanoes. It's a stark reminder of the incredible power of nature, isn't it?
It really is. Japan sits on what's known as the Ring of Fire, which is this zone of super intense tectonic activity, and that makes it prone not only to volcanoes but also to earthquakes.
Speaking of earthquakes, the article mentions that Japan experiences over 1,500 earthquakes every year. That's an average of over 4 earthquakes per day.
Wow.
You've actually experienced an earthquake in Japan, haven't you?
I have, yeah. It was this sudden jolt, this disorienting shake that made me realize just how powerful nature can be. But you know what? It also highlighted the resilience of the Japanese people. They are so accustomed to living with these forces of nature and have developed incredible systems for early warning and disaster preparedness.
It's truly remarkable how they've adapted and prepared for such events.
Uh,
All right, ready for another surprising fact? This one really challenges the image of Japan as a super urbanized nation. Did you know that 67% of Japan is actually covered in forests?
67%. That's a lot more than I would have guessed. I always pictured Japan as this ultra-modern landscape with towering skyscrapers. But it's amazing to think that such a large portion of the country is actually covered in forests.
It is, and these forests aren't just like pretty backdrops either. They're deeply intertwined with Japanese culture and spirituality. Shintoism, which is the indigenous religion of Japan, attributes spirits to natural features like trees, rivers, and mountains.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
So even amidst those bustling cities, there's this deep connection to nature, this profound reverence for the natural world.
It's really beautiful.
Now get ready for this next one because it sounds like something straight out of Ripley's. Believe it or not, Japan has the world's deepest underwater post box.
What?
You heard that right? An underwater post box?
No way.
I know, it's crazy, right?
Where is it?
It's located in this charming little fishing town called Susami, and this quirky post box sits 30 feet underwater. Can you imagine diving down to mail a letter?
That's wild. I wonder how many people have actually mailed letters from there.
Well, apparently over 32,000 pieces of mail have been sent from that underwater post box since it was installed back in 1999.
Wow, that's amazing. It's a testament to the Japanese sense of adventure and their love for the unique.
Speaking of unique, let's talk about Mount Fuji. We all know it's Japan's highest peak, but did you know it's also considered a sacred site in Shintoism?
I did know that, yeah. Mount Fuji has been revered for centuries, inspiring countless works of art, literature, and spiritual practices. It's associated with the deity Princess Konohana Sakuya, who symbolizes the beauty and transience of cherry blossoms. Even if you're not familiar with Shintoism, there's something undeniably awe-inspiring about Mount Fuji. It kind of transcends any specific belief system.
I can imagine. Now, I have to ask about this next one because it sounds too good to be true. The article mentions that there's ice cream in Japan that takes hours to melt.
What?
Is that even possible?
Hours to melt? That's crazy. How does that even work?
Well, apparently the discovery was totally accidental. Researchers were trying to help strawberry farmers after the 2011 earthquake, and in the process, they stumbled upon this compound. This compound somehow helps ice cream maintain its shape and texture for much longer, making it melt resistant.
So it's like magic ice cream.
Basically.
Wow, that's incredible. It's not only delicious, but it's a testament to Japanese ingenuity.
I know, right?
Their ability to turn unexpected discoveries into delightful experiences.
It's amazing. All right, let's journey back in time for a moment to a pivotal point in Japanese history, the arrival of the first Europeans.
Okay.
In 1543, Portuguese explorers landed in Nagasaki, marking the start of what's known as the Nanban trade period.
Yeah.
This era ushered in a really interesting exchange of goods and ideas between Japan and Europe.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating.
Isn't it?
It must have been such a transformative time for both cultures.
I know. And you know what's even more fascinating? Tempura, a dish that we now consider quintessentially Japanese, was actually introduced by the Portuguese during this period.
Seriously?
I know, right?
You learn something new every day.
It just goes to show how cultures are constantly evolving and influencing each other. But this openness to the outside world wasn't going to last forever. In 1635, Shogun Tokugawa Iemitsu decided to implement the Sakoku Edict, which effectively closed Japan off to foreigners for over 2 centuries.
Wow, that's a dramatic shift.
It really is.
What prompted such a drastic change?
Well, it seems that the shogun was really concerned about preserving Japanese culture and preventing foreign influence from undermining his authority. So he decided to isolate Japan from the rest of the world.
Wow, the impact of that isolation must have been huge.
Historians are still debating the long-term effects of the Sakoku Edict. On one hand, it allowed Japan to develop its own distinct cultural identity, but it also limited the country's exposure to global advancements during a crucial period in history.
It's fascinating to think about how different Japan might be today if they hadn't gone through that period of isolation.
Absolutely. Okay, get ready for this next one, because it sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. In Osaka, the Hanshin Expressway actually passes through a building.
What?
You heard that right? The highway goes right through a building.
Are you serious?
I'm completely serious.
How is that even possible?
It's called the Gate Tower Building, and it's an incredible feat of engineering. The highway doesn't actually touch the building itself, and it's completely soundproofed, so the people working inside aren't disturbed at all.
That is so cool. It's a perfect example of Japan's ability to find innovative solutions to urban planning challenges.
It really is thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
And that actually brings us back to something we touched on earlier, health. We talked about Japan's impressive life expectancy, but it's worth emphasizing their traditional diet. With its focus on rice, fish, and vegetables, it's widely considered to be one of the healthiest in the world.
Absolutely. Their dietary approach is all about fresh seasonal ingredients, minimal processing, and very little added sugar. It's definitely something we can all learn from.
It makes you think about how our own food choices impact our well-being. What are some of your favorite dishes from Japanese cuisine?
Oh, that's a tough one. There are so many amazing options. Japanese cuisine is so diverse and flavorful. From sushi and sashimi to ramen and miso soup, there's something for every palate.
I know, it's making me hungry just thinking about it. All right, let's move on to a fact that sets Japan apart from every other nation on the planet. Did you know that Japan is the only country in the world that still has an emperor?
I did know that. It's remarkable how they've managed to preserve that tradition.
It really is. Emperor Naruhito ascended to the throne in 2019 following his father's abdication. And while his role is largely symbolic, he embodies a connection to Japan's long and fascinating imperial history.
It speaks to the deep respect for tradition and continuity in Japanese culture. The emperor serves as a symbol of national unity and a living link to their rich heritage.
It's beautiful. Now, we've talked about those megacities and volcanoes, but let's not forget about Japan's incredible natural beauty. The article highlights it as a hiker's paradise.
Oh, absolutely. Beyond the bustling urban centers, Japan offers an incredible variety of hiking experiences. From the iconic slopes of Mount Fuji to the rugged trails of the Japanese Alps, there's something for every level of hiker.
I've heard amazing things about the Kumanokoto pilgrimage trails. They wind through ancient forests and mountains, connecting sacred Shinto and Buddhist sites.
Oh, wow, that sounds amazing.
It does, doesn't it?
Like a spiritual journey.
It's definitely going on my bucket list.
Yeah.
And speaking of natural wonders, Japan boasts the world's sixth longest coastline, stretching over 18,000 miles. That's longer than the entire coastline of North America.
Seriously?
It's mind-boggling.
That's incredible. And with all that coastline comes such a diverse range of landscapes, dramatic cliffs, charming fishing towns, pristine beaches.
The article specifically mentions the Kitayamazaki Cliffs in Iwate Prefecture. They sound absolutely breathtaking.
Oh, they are. They really are. Picture towering cliffs, 650 feet high, stretching for 5 miles along a rugged coastline. The views from the Kitayamazaki Observatory are simply stunning. It's no wonder the area was recognized for its natural beauty, winning first place in a natural resource coast category back in 1999.
It sounds like a must-see destination. All right, let's switch gears for a moment and delve into some of those unique customs and traditions that make Japanese culture so fascinating. One that's always intrigued me is bowing.
Oh, yeah. Bowing is such an integral part of Japanese etiquette. It's about so much more than just a simple gesture. It's a way of showing respect, acknowledging social hierarchy, expressing gratitude, and even just acknowledging someone's presence.
It's fascinating how much meaning can be conveyed through such a simple action.
I know, right? It's
Yeah.
a subtle but powerful form of nonverbal communication.
Absolutely. Another tradition that I find really captivating is hanami, the custom of cherry blossom viewing.
Hanami is beautiful. It's a celebration of beauty renewal and the fleeting nature of life. You know the cherry blossoms only bloom for a short period each spring. So it's a time when people gather under the trees to appreciate their delicate beauty and reflect on the cycle of life.
There's something so poetic about that.
It is.
It's a reminder to cherish the present moment and appreciate the beauty that surrounds us, even if it's only temporary.
Absolutely.
So we've talked about bowing and hanami. What other customs or values come to mind when you think about what's significant in Japanese culture?
Well, respect for elders is a cornerstone of Japanese society. It's ingrained in their culture and reflected in every aspect of life, from how they address older people to the importance of caring for aging family members.
It's a value that unfortunately seems to be fading in many parts of the world, but it's so important for a healthy and harmonious society.
I couldn't agree more.
Another aspect of Japanese culture that I find really admirable is their emphasis on gift giving.
Oh, yeah. Gift giving is a big deal in Japan. It's an integral part of their social etiquette, and they take it very seriously. Gifts are carefully chosen and beautifully wrapped to show respect and appreciation for the recipient. It's not just about the material object itself, it's about the thoughtfulness and the effort behind it.
It's a gesture that goes beyond just politeness.
Yeah.
It's a way of strengthening relationships and expressing gratitude.
Exactly.
And of course, we can't talk about Japanese culture without mentioning the importance of politeness.
Oh, for sure. Politeness is like paramount in Japanese society. It's woven into the very fabric of their interactions. You see it in their use of honorific language, their emphasis on harmonious social interactions, and their general demeanor.
It's refreshing, isn't it?
It really is.
In a world that can feel increasingly divided and confrontational, there's something really inspiring about a culture that prioritizes respect, consideration, and social harmony.
I totally agree. It makes you wonder how we can bring more of that into our own lives.
I know, right?
It's something to think about.
So to wrap up this first part of our deep dive, we've covered a lot of ground today. We've explored some fascinating aspects of Japanese culture, from the bustling streets of Tokyo to the serene beauty of Mount Fuji. What would you say are some of the key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that Japan is a country of fascinating contrasts. Ancient traditions coexist alongside modern innovations, bustling cities meet tranquil nature, and cutting-edge technology is interwoven with deep-rooted spirituality. It's a place that defies easy categorization and constantly challenges your preconceived notions.
It's also a country that's constantly evolving while still managing to hold on to its core values and traditions. It's that unique blend that makes Japan so captivating.
Definitely.
So for our listeners, what's one thing you hope they take away from our exploration of Japanese culture today?
I think the biggest takeaway is that Japan is a country that truly defies expectations. It challenges our assumptions and shows us that there are different ways of being in the world, different ways of relating to nature, to each other, and to ourselves.
It's a powerful reminder that there's always more to learn, and that exploring different cultures can be such an enriching experience.
Absolutely. It expands our horizons, broadens our perspectives, and ultimately, I believe it makes us more well-rounded and understanding individuals.
I couldn't agree more. This deep dive has been incredible, and I feel like we've only just begun to scratch the surface of what Japan has to offer.
There's always more to discover, and that's part of what makes exploring different cultures so rewarding.
All right, before we wrap up this first part of our deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Okay, what's that?
What aspects of Japanese culture resonated with you the most? What lessons can we learn from their approach to life? And how can we incorporate some of their values and traditions into our own lives to create a more harmonious and fulfilling existence?
Those are some great questions for everyone to ponder.
I encourage everyone to keep exploring the wonders of Japan, whether it's through travel books, films, or simply by engaging with Japanese people and their culture. There's so much to discover.
Japan has so much to offer. It's a country that will continue to surprise and inspire us for generations to come.
Well said. On that note, we'll bid you farewell for now. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Japanese culture, and stay tuned for part 2, where we'll uncover even more fascinating facts and insights. Until next time, keep exploring.
You know, it really is amazing how Japan has managed to hold on to such a strong sense of cultural identity in a world that's becoming increasingly globalized.
You're absolutely right. It speaks volumes about the power of tradition and how deeply connected the Japanese people are to their heritage. Are you ready for another fascinating fact from our deep dive into Japanese culture?
Always.
Hit me with it. This one really caught my eye because it highlights Japan's stunning natural beauty. Did you know that Japan has the sixth longest coastline in the entire world?
Whoa, really?
Over 18,000 miles of coastline. Just incredible.
That's longer than Australia, the United States, and Antarctica's coastlines all combined. That's mind-blowing.
It is, isn't it?
And think about all the different landscapes that come with that much coastline. You've got dramatic cliffs, charming fishing towns, pristine beaches. It's a paradise for anyone who loves exploring the coast.
I always felt drawn to the ocean, and hearing about Japan's vast and diverse coastline definitely bumps it up my travel list. Speaking of coastlines, the article specifically mentions the Kiriyamazaki Cliffs in Iwate Prefecture. Have you ever been there?
I have, and it's an experience I won't forget anytime soon. Those cliffs are absolutely breathtaking, 650 feet high, and they stretch for 5 miles along this rugged coastline. The views from the Kiriyamazaki Observatory are just out of this world. You can see for miles, and you can really feel the power of the ocean. It's one of those places that makes you realize how small we are in the grand scheme of things.
I can imagine it's the kind of place that makes you feel insignificant in the best way possible. A reminder of the vastness and beauty of nature.
Exactly. It's a truly humbling experience, and it reminds you that even in a country as technologically advanced as Japan, nature still holds a powerful sway over us.
It's a connection we all share no matter where we're from. Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk about some of the unique customs and traditions that make Japanese culture so fascinating. The article touches on several, but one that I've always found interesting is bowing.
Ah, yes, bowing. Bowing in Japan is so much more than just a simple gesture. It's a way of showing respect, acknowledging social hierarchy, expressing gratitude, or simply acknowledging someone's presence.
I know. It's amazing how much meaning can be conveyed through such a subtle action.
It really is. It's a very nuanced form of communication that takes time and practice to master. There are different bows for different occasions and social contexts. It's a beautiful example of how culture shapes the way we interact with each other.
Another tradition that I find really captivating is hanami, the custom of cherry blossom viewing.
Hanami. It's
Wow.
truly beautiful. It's all about celebrating beauty renewal and the fleeting nature of life. The cherry blossoms only bloom for a short time each spring, and it's a special time for people to gather under the trees, appreciate their delicate beauty, and reflect on the cycle of life.
It's a reminder to savor the present moment and appreciate the beauty around us, even if it's only temporary.
Exactly.
Aside from bowing and hanami, what other customs or values stand out to you as significant in Japanese culture?
One of the most important values in Japanese society is respect for elders. It's deeply ingrained in their culture, and it's evident in everything from how they address older people to the importance of caring for aging family members.
That's something that's unfortunately becoming less common in many parts of the world. It's such an important value for a healthy and harmonious society.
I completely agree. It's something we should all strive to preserve in our own lives and communities.
Another aspect of Japanese culture that I really admire is their focus on gift giving.
Gift giving is a huge part of Japanese social etiquette, and it's taken very seriously. They carefully choose gifts and wrap them beautifully as a symbol of respect and appreciation for the person receiving it. It goes beyond just the material object itself. It's a gesture that shows thoughtfulness and care.
It's a wonderful way to build stronger relationships and show gratitude. It's not just about the gift itself, it's the thought behind it.
Precisely. It's about creating a connection, acknowledging the other person, and showing that you value the relationship.
We can't talk about Japanese culture without talking about politeness.
You're right. Politeness is paramount in Japanese society. It's woven into every interaction. It's in their use of honorific language, their emphasis on harmony, and just their general demeanor.
It's really refreshing to see a culture that places such a high value on respect, consideration, and social harmony.
It really is. It makes you wonder how we can incorporate more of that into our own lives.
I think it starts with awareness, recognizing the importance of these values, and making a conscious effort to be more respectful and considerate in our daily interactions.
You're so right. A little bit of kindness and consideration can make a world of difference.
Well said. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into Japanese culture, from bustling Tokyo to serene Mount Fuji. What are some of the key takeaways you hope our listeners will remember?
First and foremost, Japan is a country full of fascinating contrasts. Ancient traditions exist side by side with modern innovations, bustling cities meet tranquil nature, and cutting-edge technology is intertwined with deep-rooted spirituality. Japan defies easy categorization, and it will constantly challenge your assumptions.
And it's a country that's constantly evolving, yet remains deeply rooted in its traditions. That unique blend is what makes Japan so captivating.
It really is.
What's the one thing you hope our listeners will take away from our exploration of Japanese culture?
I think the biggest takeaway is that Japan is a country that defies expectations. It challenges our assumptions and shows us that there are different ways of being in the world, different ways of relating to nature, to each other, and to ourselves.
It's a reminder that there's always something new to learn, and exploring different cultures can be a truly enriching experience.
Absolutely. It expands our horizons, broadens our perspectives, and ultimately, I believe it makes us more understanding and well-rounded individuals.
I couldn't agree more. This deep dive has been incredible, and I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of what Japan has to offer.
That's the beauty of it. There's always more to discover, and that's what makes exploring different cultures so rewarding.
Before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought.
I'm all ears.
What aspects of Japanese culture really resonated with you? What lessons can we take away from their way of life? And how can we bring some of their values and traditions into our own lives to create a more harmonious and fulfilling existence?
Those are great questions for everyone to consider. I encourage everyone listening to continue exploring the wonders of Japan, whether it's through travel books, films, or simply by connecting with Japanese people and their culture. There's just so much to discover.
Japan has so much to offer, and I have a feeling it will continue to surprise and inspire us for years to come. On that note, we'll say sayonara for now. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Japanese culture. Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll continue our exploration and uncover even more fascinating insights about this incredible country. Until next time, keep exploring. Welcome back to our deep dive into Japanese culture. It's been a fascinating journey so far, wouldn't you say?
It really has. It's amazing how much depth and complexity there is to Japanese culture. The more we explore, the more we uncover.
It's like peeling back layers of an onion. Each layer reveals something new and intriguing.
Exactly. And it's that constant sense of discovery that makes exploring different cultures so rewarding.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what do you think our listeners should take away from our exploration of Japanese culture?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that Japan challenges our assumptions about the world. It shows us that there are different ways of living, of relating to nature, to each other, and even to ourselves.
It's a powerful reminder that there's always more to learn, and that stepping outside of our comfort zones can be incredibly enriching.
I couldn't agree more. This deep dive has really opened my eyes to the beauty and complexity of Japanese culture.
Mine too. And I have a feeling we've only just scratched the surface.
Definitely. There's always more to discover.
All right, before we say sayonara, we'll leave our listeners with a final thought to ponder.
Okay.
What aspects of Japanese culture resonated with you the most? What stood out as particularly interesting or inspiring?
That's a good question.
And what lessons can we learn from their approach to life?
You know, one thing that really struck me was their deep connection to nature. Even in a country that's renowned for its technological advancements, they haven't lost sight of the importance of the natural world.
I agree. It's something we could all learn from, especially in today's fast-paced world.
And their emphasis on respect and harmony is also incredibly inspiring. Whether it's respect for elders, for tradition, or for each other, it's something that's woven into the very fabric of their culture.
I think that's one of the most beautiful things about Japanese culture. It's that sense of interconnectedness and community. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've explored the bustling streets of Tokyo, the serene beauty of Mount Fuji, and the fascinating customs and traditions that make Japan so unique.
We've talked about everything from volcanoes and earthquakes to cherry blossoms and canned food restaurants.
It's been a wild ride.
It really has.
So for our listeners, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep an open mind, because the world is full of incredible cultures just waiting to be discovered.
And never underestimate the power of stepping outside of your comfort zone. You never know what you might find.
On that note, we'll bid you farewell. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Japanese culture. We hope you enjoyed it.
Sayonara.
Sayonara.